In this video, we're going to talk about marginal benefit, marginal cost. I'm lumping these together because they really are very, very similar. So we're talking about marginal benefit slash marginal cost. One of them, which I mentioned in the demand video, marginal benefit is basically demand. Again, I'm jumping a couple steps here, and I'm like combining some stuff that maybe is not theoretically or technically correct. And marginal cost is essentially supply. I'm going to put an asterisk next to this because there is one thing that we need to do with this once we learn it though. Is really just I'm going to write out the definition and we'll do some numbers. All marginal means is how much for the next unit. Okay? If you ever see the word marginal, you're going to do exactly what I'm about to do, but just benefit, cost, revenue, product of labor, like whatever, right? You're most of the time given this table. Sometimes I've seen fairly frequently, both with myself and other instructors, they'll make you make the table, but they give you the information to like fill in the puzzle. It's not just make up some numbers, it's fill in the blanks on the sheet. This is going to be total cost. I'm going to call this marginal cost. This is going to be total benefit. And this is going to be marginal benefit. Eventually, not eventually today in this video, but just eventually in class, total cost is going to get split up into other things. So if you've learned that already, awesome. If not, don't worry. 0, 1, 2, 3, 5. All right, total costs. I'm just going to make it easy for us and call it 0. Total benefit, I'll make it easy and call it 0. Total cost of making 1. I wish I could pause. I can pause. I'm going to pause this real fast. I'm just going to make the chart come back because you guys don't want to watch me write this. All right, we're back. I got the numbers. Yeah, so anytime you're looking at the next unit, you want to say like from the one I was just at to now, what's the difference? Well, there's nothing before 0. There's no negative numbers in econ. So I've always just taught it as like a dash. 0, I would not mark you off for that. Just I call it a dash. Now going from 0 to 1, how much did my cost change? I'm not asking what is my cost now. I'm asking how much did it change? Well, marginal cost went from 0 to 5, so it's 5. What about from 1 to 2? The change, not what is it now. The change going from 5 to 8 is 3. 2 to 3, the change 14 to 8, or sorry, 8 to 14 is 6. 3 to 4, the change is 7. 4 to 5, the change is 8. Marginal benefit, the exact same thing. There's absolutely nothing different between any marginal ever. It's always going to be this. We'll do a couple of other examples just because they can make it, quote, trickier, but it's actually not hard. So here is going to be 10. The change from 10 to 16 is 6. The change from 16 to 20 is 4. The change from 20 to 22 is 2. The change from 22 to 21 is negative 1. These numbers, marginal, actually any number except quantity or price, can be negative, okay? In Econ 101, anything can be negative except quantity and price. The only things you'll actually see negative probably is marginal benefit. But I can think of a world where marginal cost or total cost or whatever could be negative. I can think of that. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be marginal benefit could be negative. Okay, we're going to come back to this chart, but we're going to make another chart just because I'm going to show you guys how they can make it, quote, trickier, but it's not bad. So I'm going to pause it. I'll be back. So this chart is an example of how they can like make it trickier. What I would say is like the equation, if you're looking for the equation, is something like this. Marginal cost, and again, replace the C with anything. Marginal benefit, marginal revenue, doesn't matter, okay? It's going to be change in total cost over change in quantity. Why do I say that this is, quote, harder, even though it's not that much really? The difference now is not 1. If you go back and look at our old chart, wherever it went, oh, there it is. Look at the old chart, it's 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, right? Over here, it's 0 to 10. And it doesn't have to be by 10s, it could be by 12s. It could be by 15s, it could be by anything. So they could make it harder by making the math shitty, but if it's by 10s, it's pretty straightforward. Hopefully we all can divide by 10 if we're at this point in our lives. The other thing, I should have put this in the very intro video I did, always use a calculator. The number of genuinely brilliant students I've had who get test questions wrong because they think they know what 4 plus 3 is, and they're like, ah, that's 8. Wrong. And it's always unfortunate. 4 plus 3 is 7, if you were curious. Okay, so this one, going from 0 to 100, well, that's going to give me 100, because 100 minus 0 is 100. I'll write it all the way out. Over 10 minus 0. Well, that's 100 divided by 10, which gives me 10. Let me get rid of this. We'll do it again for the next one. The next one, going from here to here, is 250 minus 100 over 20 minus 10. Well, if we simplify that, it's 150 over 10, which is 15. I apologize, that is lined up incorrectly. That should be to here. That's a 15 there. There we go. I'll just tell you this is a 25. You can check that yourself. Over here, we're going to get 30, 10, 5. Okay? And this table that I did here, I'm using my hands, you can't see it. This table we did here is just another example of like making it. One thing I will say is I do know that there are instructors, even within just the university I taught at, so it's likely more than one person does this. You might see your marginals be shifted a little bit, where it's like not lined up, it's angled. And what that's going on is they're saying like from 0 to 100 it's 10, from 100 to 250 it's 15. I personally don't like that. I'll never intentionally write it that way. I'll always try to line it up like it was this first time like that. So that way it's like, oh, boom, that quantity goes there, that quantity goes there, that quantity goes there. I understand why the other one works the other way, but I don't love it. So let's go back to our chart. What are we going to be doing with marginal benefit and marginal cost? Besides graphing, you can graph these, right? Besides graphing, we have this thing called the marginal rule. Maybe your textbook calls it something different. All right, marginal rule. Another way that I like to think of this question is how many? How many hours should I study? How many hours should I sleep? How many girlfriends should I have? How many kiwis should I eat? How many times should I go ice skating in January? It's just anytime it's the how many question, okay? Here is the rule of thumb. And I'm going to type it out whenever I can just because it's a little bit easier. Stop at the first time, or whoops, not first. Stop at the last time marginal benefit is greater than or equal to marginal. There's got to be a better way to do that. There we go. Okay. Marginal cost once marginal cost is rising. I'm not going to call it the full definition. I'm sure if you look in your book, there's going to be a much better definition as far as definitions go. But what do I mean by this? You're only going to do something if the good benefit outweighs the bad cost, right? We're not going to do stuff that hurts us. That's just, again, when I said the intro video, you know the answer. You know the answer. I can tell you the econ is like, oh, the marginal benefit of putting a nail through your hand is 10, but the marginal cost is 7 million. You're not going to do it, okay? It hurts too much. The once marginal cost is rising is what kind of throws students off the most. Most of the time they pick this up pretty quickly after a couple practices. All this stuff really does take practice. Marginal cost is rising. Why did I write that? Well, notice here, marginal cost got smaller and then got bigger. This right here, that's not rising marginal cost, that's falling. On a graph, it would look something like this. I'm going to put parentheses P because marginal cost is really just dollars anyways, but they never really show you that in Econ 101. On a graph, it's going to look like this. It falls and then goes up. That is a very, very, very normal marginal cost thing. Very normal, okay? You're going to see that all the time. But let's say I have a marginal benefit curve that looks like this. I need to make my marginal cost a little bit more exaggerated. There we go. Well, and again, bear with me if you know how to do integrals and all this stuff. Like, ignore that for 101. If I say greater than or equal to, the last time marginal benefit is greater than or equal to is important. Greater than is important, or equal to is also important. Well, it is equal here, right? Boom, stop, done. No, because there's a couple other things going on in this sentence. The last time, okay? Greater than or equals. Yeah, if it's bigger, you just keep going, okay? Well, I can find at least one other point, at least one, where it's also equal again. So it's probably going to be over here. This is on the upward sloping portion as well, over here. And so it's actually going to be you do this. This, I'm going to make up 5 points here. I'll number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you do 1, you're like, oh, I don't want to do 2 because I'm equal, so I'm done. If you do 2, your benefit is bigger than your cost, so you're getting more good than you're getting bad. You're like, oh, I should actually do 2 instead of 1. 3 is the exact same thing. You're getting more good than bad. 4 is the exact same thing. You're getting more good than bad. 5, you're getting equal good to equal bad. But you know what? For Econ 101, we're going by this definition. You're just doing the last one. In Econ 101, if 2 things are equal, you're going to do them. Your professor may tell you something different and go with what they say. Technically, when it's equal, you're indifferent. But every Econ 101 I've ever taught, or at least heard of taught or taken, when they're equal, you do it. Technically, you're indifferent. So if a multiple choice or true false says that, go with that. All right, so looking at my chart over here, let me use a different color. Let me clean up some of this as well, just so that way it doesn't get super confusing. Let's look at this one. Quantity 1. Well, is 10 bigger than or equal to 5? Yep. Is 6 bigger than or equal to 3? Also, yep. For the ease of simplicity, I'm realizing for most of you, you can kind of ignore this, just so long as it would require you to check every point in your table, which isn't hard. It's 5 points, right? But like, you could technically get rid of that because it's like, oh, 4, is it bigger than 6? Nope. 2, is it bigger than 7? Nope. -1, is it bigger than 8? Nope. So the last time it happens is here. What does that tell me? I should sleep for 2 hours, study for 2 hours, eat 2 Oreos, go on 2 vacations this year, like whatever, however the how many question is. It's always going to be, how many tacos should you eat? And they'll have a chart. You'll go through this algorithm, this procedure, and you're going to be like, oh, this is what it is. I stopped the last time MB is greater than or equal to MC. Done, right? And that's it. The last thing I want to mention, this is a bonus. This is not related at all to this chart. It's not related at all to MB greater than MC and marginal rule. It's related back to supply. I didn't mention it in the supply video just because we hadn't talked about marginal cost. Super technically, I don't want that green. Super technically, supply is the upward sloping portion of marginal cost. The only reason I bring that up is I do know one of the 2 major textbooks makes this clarification. Okay. All that means in a graph, notice the red line goes down and then back up. It means the supply starts here and this black overlay is the supply. That's all it means. But One of the other two big books doesn't make that distinction, so that's why it's bonus. All right, and that's what we have for marginal benefit, marginal cost, marginal rule. Um, like always, ask me if you've got any questions. I really don't expect these videos to be viewed by more than like 5 people, so I should be able to get to your questions. And if it requires a separate video, um, I will make a separate video explaining it. And I know YouTube has some way to link videos, right? Like worst case scenario, I'll just comment with the link, but I'm pretty sure I can link it to the video itself so others can click on it if they have the same question that you do. Yeah, all right, thank you.